Hi, welcome to Empower Her. My name is Priya. I am the host of this podcast. So, if you're listening for the first time, Empower Her is a podcast for women from women. It's basically to uplift women, to help inspire them as well in your personal and professional lives. So, I invite different women from different career paths in different kind of roles who are either leaders or in a higher position in a company and are leading other teams. And basically, I ask them questions about, their career paths and their challenges. And hopefully, it can help you navigate your career as well. So I have Julie Fox with me today. Hi, Julie. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Amazing. So I'll hand it over to you, Julie, to give a quick introduction about yourself.
Absolutely. Well, again, super excited to be here. My name is Julie Fox, and I am a global director of customer success with a company called Sin7. Sin7 is a connected inventory performance solution. We actually work with over 8,500 customers globally and automatically provide a real time picture of everything that they make and sell. Our mission is really to make product selling as easy as product buying. And
Mm.
I just joined the team a couple months ago. I have had kind of a long and windy career
Mhm.
um, prior to getting in tech, and then I've been in tech and the customer success space for a little while now, and have really
Mhm.
found my home here.
Amazing. First of all, congratulations on the new role. Um, so let's talk about your career and how your career started off. Was it, as you said, it wasn't in tech. So what kind of field did you start your career in?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a career changer. So I studied special education, and then out of college, I couldn't find a job. So I just got a job
Mhm.
working as a receptionist for a real estate company, which then led me down a path of commercial real estate where
Mhm.
I dabbled in sales and marketing and different customer facing roles,
Mhm.
ultimately leading to different opportunities and leadership along the way. But a really kind of interesting background because I feel like I worked with so many different departments and was a leader in different ways. So able to see how these different departments impact the business, how they work together. And
Mhm.
then made the decision to make the switch over to tech and SaaS. And when I did that, that was actually when I found customer success. When I first was making the change, I just knew that I wanted to get into tech for some reason. And
Yeah.
then it was through that process, through interviewing and networking,
Mhm.
that I learned about customer success. And then the more I learned about it, I was all in. And so that then led me to pursue a career in customer success.
Awesome. So I think the next question is kind of obvious, but why did you decide to switch at that time?
Yeah, good question. Definitely the obvious question that makes sense. So,
Yeah.
for me, I had been through a layoff. I was actually pregnant, and had was finishing out my kind of preparing for my maternity leave. And as I was going through that process, I then had my second child. And while I was newly on maternity leave, I was let go. And so at that point, it really was kind of one of those like stop yourself in your tracks moment where I really reflected on my career that I was in. And there were a lot of things that I really enjoyed about it.
Mhm.
But I also realized that having the decision made for me, I feel like it made me stop and just kind of reflect to say, okay, is this something that I want to continue doing? Am I on the right path? Or
Mhm.
do I take this opportunity to do something different? And
Mhm.
for me, I think it really helped me find meaning and feel a little bit more in control of something that could have felt like a really negative, bad thing that, oh, woe was
Mhm.
me, this happened to me. Um, by allowing this to be a time where I made a career pivot while arguably maybe not the best time because I was very kind of vulnerable as a brand new mom and
Mhm.
trying to kind of navigate um, second time motherhood and recovery and all of that. But at the
Mhm.
same time, it gave me something new to be really excited about. It gave me something to research and do. And because it was hard,
Mhm.
because it wasn't just that easy, okay, like I felt like in the industry I was in, not that it would have been easy,
Mhm.
but it would have been a lot easier. I
Mhm.
had a network, I knew
Mhm.
people, I had already built up a reputation.
Mhm.
And that was kind of the easy button. That was the easy way that I could have just gone back into that. But by
Mhm.
giving myself a challenge at that point, it really re-energized and reinvigorated me and gave me something really hard to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I totally relate with that because, I've also switched industries. I started with like in a hospitality industry, and for some reason I didn't really enjoy it. And I was like, okay, I was intrigued by tech, and I was like, oh, okay, I definitely want to see and explore that industry. And, obviously you do get comfortable when you're working in a specific role in a specific industry. So it's hard, definitely,
Yeah.
to kind of also embrace that uncomfortability, I guess, that comes with it. But yeah, that's part of the process, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that's what I needed at that time. Like
Mhm.
when I reflected, I had that moment where I really realized that I wasn't incredibly passionate and I was disappointed that I lost my job, but I wasn't mourning the loss of a career and job that I loved. And I think that's where
Mhm.
it really made me have that big kind of aha moment that I wanted more for myself. I wanted something that that would be harder to walk away from or that really
Mhm.
excited me. And
Mhm.
that's a lot of what drove me to tech and ultimately customer success was that pace of innovation,
Mhm.
especially with customer success. It's such a relatively new category and segment. Like
Mhm.
when you think of like people have been selling since the
Mhm.
dawn of time and
Mhm.
whatnot and marketing. And so it's like some of these industries really, there's such a science and art behind it. And
Mhm.
there's a little bit more of like, not that it's, I don't want to oversimplify it of saying, there's a right and a wrong way to do things, but there's a lot more um, knowledge around it because it's been around for a while. Now,
Mhm.
obviously, it's evolving because the whole world is evolving at a pace that's unreal right now. But I feel like for customer success, it's even more so because we're really figuring out what it is and what it means and who we are. And, you see customer success orgs that are moving from being under product to revenue to their own segment under a chief customer officer or something. And so I think that that's where it's really cool to be a part of that journey that we're all kind of figuring this out. I don't think there's some
Mhm.
really incredible people in the industry that have great experiences and I've had quite a few experiences,
Mhm.
but I don't think there's anybody that could honestly say I am the expert at this and I know everything and I can do it all. It's like what worked a year ago may not even work anymore because it's like because the pace of this is just so crazy. So that was something that it really, really drew me to it, as well as kind of that combination of I love sales, I love marketing, I want to have a big impact, and so um, finding a category for me that felt like it really kind of brought together all of these areas of my life that I really enjoyed into one place was something
Mhm.
that really excited me.
Mhm. Yeah. So if we talk about, while you were transitioning, was there any particular challenge that was particularly hard or maybe, I guess really difficult to navigate at that time?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'd say the first big challenge was getting people to take a chance on me, getting people to understand the transferable skills that because I came from a different background, um, even though it's a lot of the same skill sets that I just mentioned, I didn't have tech experience. And so I feel like I kept hearing, you need tech experience. And I was like, well, that's literally what I'm trying to do here. And so I went from being, and I had to kind of make that decision to say, hey, am I willing to make this change for my career? That it's not going to be easy. It's going to be really hard. I've got to be super, super relentless in this pursuit. And also, I'm probably going to have to take a big step backwards, maybe. I didn't truly view it as a step backwards, but I went from being a VP of services before being in tech, and I had been a director of operations. I had been like, I had this big leadership career, and
Mhm.
then when I stepped into tech, I came in as an individual contributor, as a CSM,
Mhm.
and had to really start from the ground up of learning the product, the industry, this new role, because even though I had some of the skill sets, nothing's like doing it. And so it's like I had so
Mhm.
much learning and
Mhm.
then had to trust that with that I was going to be able to grow back into a leadership role, which was what I was really ultimately looking for.
Mhm.
So that was really tough. It was really I dealt with a lot of rejection. Um, and this was at a time 6 years ago or so when the job market was totally different than what it looks like today.
Mhm.
And if anything, it was a much easier job market than it is today. But even so, I mean, it took me 6 months to find something, and I truly treated it as a full time job. I was
Mhm.
networking like crazy. I had
Mhm.
multiple meetings a day and lots
Mhm.
of applications, and I was working really, really hard. I mean, and I was
Mhm.
doing all the right things. I was literally going back to the basics of sending handwritten thank you notes and really incredible follow ups and continuing to ping people and stay on top of things. But for a lot of people, it's just they couldn't see it. And so I had to get creative with utilizing video, with kind of showing them some examples and pulling from my past experiences to say, hey, here's some examples of how I've done similar work, or here's how I would handle these things to show them that I understood what the role was that they were looking for and that I was truly confident that I could do it and really contribute to their team in a positive way.
Mhm. So I think a lot of people will, relate to your story when, people change industries or, a job role. But a part of it, a huge part of it is, as you said, facing that, I guess, like a rejection, but also, that doubt as well, that people are like, oh, are you sure what you're doing? That kind of thing as well. So, how did you deal with that?
So, I had some help and my husband for sure, where like I definitely had a lot of people close to me that were questioning me and saying, hey, why are you doing this? Why you can get a job really, really easily in kind of this previous industry. And so I definitely had people questioning me. And I think he was really steady in his belief of me that he saw this kind of light start to glimmer in me again of where I was excited about something. And so I
Mhm.
think with that, when I started sharing things of, oh, so and so said this, you know, is this, am I completely dumb to be doing this or whatever? And he really was like, no, like you're doing this because you want, like, he was like, if you're not going to do it now, you're never going to do this. Like, this is the perfect time. You've
Mhm.
already put in the work, keep going. And so I
Mhm.
feel like having somebody that really also believed in me really, really helped. But I think it's also the more that I got into it, the more that it was like, there's no turning back. You kind of have to, I think with some things, like, you've got to go into it in that way because I think if you give yourself an out, it's really easy to take that out. And so for
Mhm.
me, it was like I had to make the decision of if somebody calls me up that, people in my past industry knew that I was looking. And so they would reach out and say, hey, I've got a great opportunity for you. Do you want to talk? And I had to say
Mhm.
no to those. I had to say, I'm specifically looking at this type of
Mhm.
thing. If
Mhm.
you know anyone to connect me with or whatever, I'd be happy to chat. But, making that known that I was making this decision and it made it, the more I said it out loud, the more that I did that, the more comfortable I got with that uncomfortableness because it is
Mhm.
scary to turn
Mhm.
things down and to say
Yeah.
no. But I think for me, I couldn't allow that opening. I couldn't crack that door open because again, it was such a vulnerable time for me. I think I would have that would have been my easy answer. And so
Mhm.
I had to go fully into it.
Mhm. Absolutely. So, you mentioned that, obviously when you transitioned industries, you started with an individual contributor role, but you were looking for a leadership role. What do you like about a leadership role?
Yeah. So I have evolved a lot as a leader over the years. I think the more that I have done it with, the more that I've kind of had more layered and different experiences, the more I love it. For me, I find a lot of fulfillment in having an impact beyond my own work, being able to, as an individual contributor, there's something really nice about being able to own your own success, your own results. And I'm a competitive person. So I will say like there's a lot that I liked about the CSM role. I liked that I could control, how I was interacting with my customers and kind of the level of care that I was providing. And
Mm,
I felt really confident in that. But I like that with leadership, not only do you have an impact on the business and on kind of a larger customer base, which is incredible. And I mean, it's maybe scary because the decisions you make and things go really, really well or really bad because you're doing it at scale.
mm,
But you also have an impact you have the ability to have an impact on people's lives. And that's
mm,
the thing that layered throughout my career over the years. I have some really cool stories, really cool examples of people that I've worked with that I've been able to have a really transformative impact on them. That's not just in that one role or with that one company, but things that are impacting their lives and impacting their career paths, and whether that's kind of them changing directions completely on kind of the career path they're in, or changing their mindset, or some of those things that I feel like being able to do that, that just brings me so much fulfillment. I also feel like there's a lot of crossover between like the things that I liked as a CSM,
mm,
honestly, are a lot of the things that I like as a leader, because it's like I really liked being able to see that success over time, be able to see, hey, when I invest in somebody, when I show up in a certain way, here's how kind of this relationship grows. And I mean, it's the same thing when you're working with customers, when you show up in a really good way and can see them grow, can see them evolve. That's also very
mm,
fulfilling.
mm. Yeah, absolutely. So, when it comes to leadership, what kind of qualities do you think are important for a leader to have?
Yeah. So I'll kind of share the things that are important to me, the things that I have found and really leaned heavily into. So for one, I really lean on, I grow by growing others. Like the more that I can have an impact on people's lives and get them excited, getting us kind of getting the whole team in sync and having us really motivated, excited, rallying around a certain mission and vision, the better. Because that's where it's like if we're all in sync, we can run through walls together.
Mm,
One of my other big philosophies around leadership is that it's not, and I know this is different for different types of leaders or different organizations, but for me, one of my core beliefs is that my teams do best when I don't try to put them in a box of like, okay, every single person has to do the job in the exact same way.
mm,
I'm not trying to make carbon copies of people. I'm not trying to say, this is exactly how many calls per week you need to have, or really like get super into the weeds around their outputs. When
mm,
I can paint a vision around kind of the outcomes and what we're trying to deliver, and then give them the autonomy to do it in a way that feels authentic to them and also gets the results, and I'm more kind
mm,
of outcome focused and results driven.
mm,
um, I've been able to see people really step up and come into their own. And a lot of that, what's been really cool is seeing kind of the different skill sets that emerge. So, for
mm,
example, my current team, I have people that have really incredible strengths that are complementary to each other. And so instead of me just saying, like, okay, let me dim this person's light, or let me like, try to put mold
mm,
them all to be the same. Instead, I've started to really lean on a few people and say, hey, this is something you're really strong in. Let's do more of this. Let's get you involved in more of these types of projects or more of this type of work, because I see,
mm,
not only do I see that kind of passion and excitement in them, but also they're really good at it and it's a need for our business. And so
mm,
that's been really cool to kind of lean more on the strengths. And that's something that I think is really important for leaders to do, is to really understand their team and, what motivates them, what drives them, where their strengths and skill sets are, and be able to kind of organize the team in a way that leans on people in a more human way versus pretending we're all machines. I'm also, I'd say one of my big philosophies around leadership is also really um, heavy, heavy focus on professional development at its core. So, really, by trying to understand the team and then understand different career paths and growth paths for them has been really, really cool to see. So that, maybe not everybody wants to be a manager, which thank goodness, because I can't have 10 managers on one team. And so it's like by being able to understand their different skill sets, I can then carve out different projects, different initiatives for them to be a part of. And sometimes that leads to different career paths or different specialization paths that maybe don't even exist today. And so that's been really cool and something that I believe in strongly from a leadership standpoint.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, when it comes to, as you said, professional development, obviously, a lot of organizations have, different policies around it, different programs that they do. Sometimes the managers have their own programs that
Mhm.
they, have their teams do as well. Um, if we take, for an example, that there is someone on your team who wants to be a leader in their future, um, do you have any specific things in your mind that you would say that, okay, this is how I would have this person go through, a mentorship or something like that?
Absolutely.
I'm not sure. Everyone has like different kind of programs, but do you have something like that in your mind too?
Yeah, absolutely. So it definitely does depend. It depends on kind of the person and the role. With that, kind of one of my philosophies around growth is that I really like to see, and this is something I've done for myself and has led to the growth that I've had in my own career, and something that I try to share with my colleagues and teammates as well, is trying to put yourself in positions where you are doing the work before the opportunity presents itself, so that then when the opportunity is there,
Hmm.
you're the first choice. It's a no-brainer decision, because it's like, of course, you're already doing the work. And
Hmm.
so with that, I have an example where one of my team members right now is, I mean, absolutely phenomenal at his job, but he has expressed real interest and desire to become more of a leader, have a bigger impact. And so a couple things that we're doing is getting him more involved with mentorship and coaching. So we have a few new team members. He is the one kind of taking on the
Hmm.
mentorship, and really where typically that would be kind of the manager or me as the director that are, meeting with them daily or weekly and really taking them through the onboarding.
Hmm.
He's handling it all. He is absolutely, like, he is jumping in and really taking this very seriously and making sure that from a time management perspective, he can show up as his full self and handle his job, but also can start to take on these other responsibilities because it's important to him, and he understands kind of the growth that would can lead to. Another cool example is there's some of this can be through the organization, or some of this can be kind of self-made as manager, but
Hmm.
creating different mentorship and coaching programs. So
Hmm.
I've done before where I've had programs where it's like, okay, this person is going to get access to different executives through this specific project, or through different, like a round robin type
Hmm.
mentoring, where I can talk to different leaders throughout the organization and say, hey, I have this person, I want to get them to exposure to different leadership styles, different things. Would you
Hmm.
be willing to give 1 hour a month or 30 minutes or however much? Um, I don't think I've ever had somebody say no to me when I've asked. And so I think that's something that for
Hmm.
myself, I found that when I was trying to grow into leadership roles, that was a big thing that I did on my own, was going to people and asking for mentorship and saying, hey, I really, one of my first jobs in CS, um, I looked up to this one female leader. She was the director of sales, and so it was like we worked together, but not super closely. But I really admired her from afar, and so I had reached out to her and asked for her to be a mentor of mine, and she said yes, and that really helped me learn that side of the business, and for CS and sales to work more closely together. But it really helped me in my career because I was able to ask her questions around as I was becoming a manager, how do you structure your one-on-ones? How do you structure your team meetings? What are some things that you're doing with this? Or, hey, I'm struggling with this. And I think just having that sounding board that isn't just refined to like, when I think of my team and trying to grow them into leadership things, I want them to expand their network so that they are able to have experience other leadership styles, other leaders, and learn from them, to better understand and kind of grow into their own style as a leader. But
Mhm.
also, it gives them a network of people that now, when they have questions or when they're challenged in certain ways, they're not just coming to me or their
Mhm.
manager. They have now a group of people that they can lean on. And I think that's really important.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I think there's lots of stuff. And like I said, I think being able to give people certain projects, being able to say, hey, I'm going to have you run point on this and, be the leader of this tiger team or something like that. It
Mhm.
helps it helps them learn, and I can give them feedback along the way before they become a people manager. And so it's like I can start shaping them and challenging them in that way. But it's also strategic. It also gives them
Mhm.
exposure to different parts of the business. So if they are running a tiger team, for example, or some sort of big project, if they're the leader on that, I'm encouraging them to be like, hey, you should share this message in our general Slack channel, or you should share this in our next all hands meeting. Because I want people to start seeing them in that elevated role of like, oh wow, this person is stepping up. They are doing more. So that then again, when I put their name in the hat to say, hey, that I have this opportunity and I think this person's ready, it becomes a really easy decision for other kind of cross-functional leaders or HR, because they already know that it's on their radar because they've seen this person's name in Slack and in the calls and all of that and stuff.
Mhm.
And so I think just trying to be really smart about how I can give them exposure as well.
Mhm. Yeah. So I think that leads kind of into my next question is, obviously you talked about how you advocated for yourself, and you encourage that as well from your team too. And unfortunately, there is definitely a difference between, sorry about that. My dogs are like barking at something.
They have opinions that they want to share. No worries at all.
So yeah, I think with that, it's there is a difference between how women and men deal with that. Unfortunately, a lot of women do kind of like struggle with that, advocating for themselves and just talking about what they actually want. Is there any advice you have for women who kind of struggle with that?
So I think mentorship's a big one. I think if you can find people in it, whether it's in your organization, cross functionally, or on your team, or whether it's externally, um, finding different people that can coach you, that can mentor you, it really helps a lot with that confidence. Because again, it gives you kind of that sounding board, or that team of people that you can lean on. In the CS community specifically, that's really kind of what got me really energized about customer success at the beginning, was starting to, the more that I got to know a handful of women leaders and started messaging with them, started having conversations with them and learning from them. Um, it was just such a welcoming community and environment. And I learned so much from these people, and it made me feel like, wow, I'm not alone. I'm not by myself here trying to figure stuff out for the first time. And
Mhm.
instead of just kind of throwing stuff at walls and trying to figure out what sticks or what was the right things to do for my team, especially as kind of that first time manager in customer success, I was able to lean on a network of other females and say, hey, I'm navigating this, or I'm trying this for the first time. Have you done this before? Is this something you have experience with? And I could learn from them. So then a lot of times it made me better. So the things that
Mhm.
I was trying, the things I was doing, I was able to, maybe it wasn't 100% there, but maybe it was 80%. Maybe I'm starting at 80 instead of starting at one.
Mhm. Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like that type of thing really helped me. Um, it can be tough, especially when you are in an environment where you look around and there aren't leaders that look like you, whether that is gender or diversity or whatnot.
Mhm.
But that's something that I've become extremely passionate about as a leader is trying to build teams that are diverse in experiences and backgrounds and whatnot, because it is so important. And it also allows, I mean, it allows for people to see that path for themselves. If they look at the executive leadership team and they see that there's females there, or they see that
Mhm.
everybody is not white, like, I think that
Mhm.
helps them to see themselves. And it can be really motivating for people to see, like, hey, I can get there. Someone like me is in this position, and now, and I also can get there.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, so you're a mother, and as you shared before as well, some of the struggles and challenges, that you had to go through while you were pregnant as well. But motherhood in itself is obviously, so hard to navigate as well. And I'm sure there are a lot of mothers also listening to this, working mothers, or maybe stay-at-home moms as well. But how do you uh, you know balance the life of a mother with being a working professional as well, who is also in a leadership role?
Um, gosh, I don't know if I completely balance it, and I think that that's where it's like, just being super honest with you. It's hard. It's really really hard. I mean, it's a constant struggle of, some days are great and I feel like I'm just killing things at work and I'm like, I'm doing it, it's happening. And
Mhm.
then, you have the ups and the downs of work, you have the ups and the downs of parenthood. And I feel like for parenthood, it's, um, I mean, gosh, it changes by the minute. I feel like I can be like, wow, I'm doing a great job. And then my son throws a temper tantrum over the silliest thing. And I'm like,
Yeah.
and now I'm not doing so great. And so I think it's like, for me, it's not this like balance that like perfectly equals
Mhm.
out. It is a
Mhm.
blending of like, this is who I am. Like, when I
Mhm.
show up at work, I'm still a mom. I
Mhm.
don't set that side, like side of,
Mhm.
I don't set that part of me aside and
Mhm.
think, okay, I am a mom in the morning and I'm a mom in the evenings. I'm a
Mhm.
mom all the time. And I'm a working mom all the time. So even
Mhm.
in the evenings when I'm with my kids, I talk about my work. If there's something, and I do this a lot with my daughter because she is 7.5 now. So it's like, I feel like she's getting to that age where she understands emotions and feelings and different
Mhm.
things. And, sometimes if I have a bad day, when I pick her up and it's just the two of us in the car, I tell her about it and I talk about my work with her.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that's really important. I think it's really important for my kids to see my passion for my work and for them to look at it. I think many people grew up in environments where their parents dreaded going to work or complained a lot about their work. And I want my kids to see that I love what I do. I love my job and I love them. And
Mhm.
to me, it's like, I think it's, my kids don't know any different. They
Mhm.
know their own experience and they know that I adore them. I love them and that they are the most important thing to me.
Mhm.
And I also work. And so I think it's just this like, it's this constant struggle. I will not tell you that I have figured it all out because I
Mhm.
haven't, and it's still hard. But what I will say is it is getting easier. I am now, my kids are 5 and 7.5, and I feel like I'm past the true thick of it, of like the
Mhm.
baby phases where they rely on you for every little thing. So it's like I'm starting to
Mhm.
see that light at the end of the tunnel, but I'm also like, I feel like as my kids get older and older, I just love them more and more and they get better. Still hard,
Mhm.
but it's like it's more and more enjoyable.
Mhm.
And even for my work, I feel like the more I do it, the more I love it, the more passionate I get. And so I'm at a
Mhm.
place right now where even through the tough stuff, I'm really happy. And so I think it's like trying to continue to find that perspective and that mindset of, I don't have to be perfect. I can't give 100% of myself at work and give 100% of myself at home. There would be nothing left of me to take care of
Mhm.
myself. And so I think that's where it's like trying to just show up and trying to be as real as I can. And, if I need to go do things for my kids during the day or if whatnot, like I don't lie about it. I don't hide behind that.
Mhm.
I am very honest of saying, hey, I need to do this. And I don't
Yeah.
ask for permission. I say, here's what I'm doing. But at the
Mhm.
same time, I'm also getting my job done and I'm doing a phenomenal job. So I feel like it's like
Yeah.
something that it makes me feel better to be like, hey, this is a part of my life and it's a part of who I
Mhm.
am,
Yeah.
but so is work.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Has it affected or influenced you as a leader, being a mother?
Yeah, honestly, when I was newly a mother and in leadership roles and stuff, it was really cool because I feel like actually a lot of the parenting books and things that I was reading and figuring out, I found a lot of parallels
Mhm.
between kind of the words of wisdom
Mhm.
in that and kind of what I could apply with my team. I feel like so much of what we do as both moms and as leaders, so much of it is change management. So much of it is how can I get somebody excited about something that maybe they don't want to do. How can I get my kid to eat broccoli? How can I
Mhm.
get my coworkers to, show up in a above and beyond way about
Mhm.
something that, may not be something that they are particularly passionate about.
Mhm.
So I think there's definitely crossover. For me, like the biggest impact that I've seen is around my own like time management and efficiencies and kind of how
Mhm.
effective I am during the day. Um, I am not willing to work absolutely insane hours anymore. Pre kids, I worked crazy hours and
Mhm.
I was totally obsessed with my job and work. I'm still totally obsessed with my job and work, but I'm also totally obsessed with my kids. And
Mhm.
so for that, it's like when I show up at work, when I'm on at work, I am really, really on. I'm not willing to say, oh, I'll just wait to do this later. I'll just wait to do this later. I feel like if I need to do something, I have a much better attitude of how I can manage my time and how I can fit it all in. Because I'm not somebody that's willing to work crazy hours on the weekends or evenings because that time is really, really sacred to me.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Um, so when it comes to, any advice, do you have any advice for working mothers or, mothers who are just aspiring to be leaders?
Yeah, absolutely. I think back to the comment before, my biggest advice is find your network or your tribe or different people. I think it can feel lonely. It can feel like you're in this world and trying to navigate all of this stuff. But the more that I've reached out to people in a vulnerable way of saying, hey, I'm struggling with this, or hey, this is something that I'm experiencing, the more people have started to speak up and say, hey, me too. This is also something that I'm dealing with or something that I'm struggling with. And
Mhm.
I have a handful of colleagues. I'm really blessed to have a great network of other moms that I work with at Sin 7. And I mean, we will text each other pictures of our
Mhm.
kids or funny stories and different things. And it is just so nice to be able to have other people that are in high up leadership positions that also have young children and are navigating kind of
Mhm.
first days of school or
Mhm.
sicknesses with the after the first day of school and whatnot. And so I think being able to find those people less for like necessarily like the mentorship, but more for the camaraderie and like the
Mhm.
friendship of what we are going through. And I think that that's been really, really helpful for me. The other thing is like, I think just being true to who you are. Um, I remember when I first was pregnant with my daughter, so my oldest, first child, and I remember like hiding it for a while, being like, "Oh my gosh, I had all male colleagues, and I was just it's like
Mhm.
I was embarrassed. I was like, I don't want them to know. I didn't want them to think that I would be less than."
Mhm.
And I remember talking to my boss at the time when I said that I was pregnant and being like, oh, and I'm going to take this maternity leave and then I'll come back and all whatever. And he was like, but I was like, nothing's going to change. Like I was like trying to tell him that nothing was going to change. And he just laughed at me because he had He had young kids at the time, and he was like, Julie, everything's going to change. He was like, this is a lot is going to change. But he was like, but in the most incredible way. He was like, you will be better because
Mm,
you are a mom. You will be better because you are going through this. And it was
mm,
just such like a refreshing perspective, because I
mm,
think I felt so much fear over, I didn't want to be overlooked because of
mm,
being pregnant. I didn't want to be overlooked because of becoming a new mom, or make them think, oh, let's slow down Julie's career path or something. Like, I am an incredibly ambitious person, and
mm,
that's something that's really important to me. So even as a leader myself, like, I
mm,
have promoted people while they are on maternity leave. I've promoted
mm,
people right before they have babies. Like, I
mm,
think it's really important for people to see that just because you are the one that is carrying a child and going through this experience does not mean that you have to slow down. You
mm,
can, if that is what you need, if that is your
mm,
choice. But if you have already earned a promotion, you should not be overlooked,
mm,
because you are forming a family. And so, definitely something that I try to emulate and kind of show people.
mm,
But definitely, I mean, and through this, if anybody ever wants to chat, I am here. Like, if you're looking for that mentor, if you need somebody that's a mom, and you're like, who can I talk to? I don't have somebody in this type of role. Like, talk to me,
mm.
message me on LinkedIn, and we can connect, because this is something I'm super passionate about.
Awesome. No, that's amazing. And yeah, I think I definitely um, believe that being a mother definitely, has a huge impact on you as a leader. And, as you said, obviously your experience as a mother does, kind of like help you resonate and, maybe even empathize with
Mhm.
other mothers as well. So yeah, I think that's something that is definitely helpful. When it comes to customer success, switching gears here a little bit, but obviously, as you said before, customer success has definitely evolved in the
Mhm.
past few years. And there's so much new things that are coming up. Obviously, there's AI and so many other areas that we don't even know about right now. But how do you see customer success evolving in the next couple of years?
Yeah, so some of this has already started, but I think this emphasis on what we are doing as more of like a larger thing. I think it's less about customer success as like this one specific part of the customer journey, and more of like the overall bigger customer experience. So what I've started to see, and what I think will continue to evolve and grow more, is a lot more of the like cross functional. You'll start to see CS with a seat at the table, a lot more, where it's like, go to market teams and stuff that historically were more sales and marketing focused, are going to start to be really looking at CS of like, hey, how do we nurture our customers? How do we help them grow and be more proactive, more predictive?
Mm,
Um, I've seen CS evolve hugely in terms of like how we are leveraging the data that we have about our customers to get really smart and to be able to do what we do at scale. So I think historically people really looked at scaled CS or digital CS or some of these different things as something that, it's a segment. It's something that you could just be doing for a specific segment of customers. And I'm starting to see that completely flip on its head, where, the webinars, the one-to-many outreaches, the content, the resources, the all of these different communities and hubs that are being created, they're for everyone. They're for all customers, because, and especially some of your enterprise customers, because I mean, imagine you have 200 users with their 2,000 even users. Your CSM's not talking to every single one of them. Like, you still have a handful of contacts that you're working with, but there
mm,
still is a lot that you want to be able to do to reach those. And so
mm,
through in-app messaging and guides, through community, through different drip campaigns, things like that, you're able to reach a lot more people. And so I think that's where I see is a lot of that, like, the evolution of seeing scaled CS get bigger
mm,
and bigger, and be more of like a more holistic approach, as well as CS getting more of that seat at the table and being more of a cross-functional initiative, where really, you've got all of the different key stakeholders getting together to tackle the problems together and the
Mhm.
opportunities.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And when it comes to, revenue and growth and, as you said, go to market, um, you know, I am also seeing a change and a shift in that, where there is definitely a lot of, customer success people who are now advocating for, customer success to be a part of, that. Yes, it is a huge part of revenue,
Hmm.
which it was not seen that way. I think
Yeah,
as much, it's kind of seen, something that is post sales.
yeah,
And yeah, so do you think that, in the future we will see customer success being, more part of the revenue conversation?
yeah, absolutely. So I am on our revenue team. I report to our chief revenue officer, and I think that that's something that really helps me because I'm able to then have kind of the revenue leadership conversations with our head of sales, with our head of partnerships, with marketing and whatnot. So that really helps because I think I better understand kind of the overall business, and they better understand kind of how we as a CS team contribute to the business. My chief operating officer constantly, like one of his new favorite phrases that he says is revenue is revenue. Like,
Mm,
doesn't matter. It literally does not matter if it is new business, if it is upsell.
mm,
At the end of the day, if you think about it, I mean, many of these companies have all of these different major revenue goals, and it's things related to retention or churn,
mm,
downsell,
mm,
upsell, and net new business.
mm,
And what we've started to see in the last couple months is not just months, and in the last year or so with the economy, is that new sales is struggling a little bit for many businesses. It's not easy to be in sales right
mm,
now. A
mm,
lot of companies are really becoming very critical about new spend. We see that on the churn side too, where companies that aren't getting the value that they should or the return on investment are leaving. And so
mm,
it's more important than ever to really invest in the customers because what what we've seen or what I've seen at past companies is if the sales aren't performing where they need to be, leadership is starting to look at me or look at customer success and say, hey, could we do more on upsell, or hey, could we do more on retention? And I think that's
mm,
something that the economy has helped us in that sense. That I think
mm,
it's given us more of that ability to say, hey, we have we have the ability to have the biggest impact on revenue,
mm,
depending on the size of the company. I mean, if it's obviously if it's a brand new company, net new
mm,
sales is they're gonna have a much bigger impact. But if you're in a growth stage company or a scale up or a more mature company, the majority of your revenue is coming from existing business. And
mm,
that's something that I think people hadn't really taken super seriously historically, that they relied on thinking, okay, well, the product is going to, people will stay just because the product, or people will stay just because of whatever. And I think that that's a misconception that, really CS, we have the ability to really influence our customers and to become more of like a recommendation engine where we can help guide them. We can help them to not only avoid risk and downsell and whatnot, but also to be able to say, hey, because I know your business so much, here's how you need to be leveraging this, whether that's impacting product adoption or whether that's becoming an upsell opportunity. But um, especially in SaaS, it's like you spend so much money to acquire customers. So if you are, when you think of the lifetime value or the cost of acquisition of a customer, if you are losing customers after only being with you for a year, you're literally losing money as a business. And so it's incredibly important that you are doing everything you can to make sure that you're driving value for those businesses.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think, yeah, that's something that I'm really happy about, where, I'm seeing this change that, customer success is now advocating more for, what they're doing and what the potential is, which I think so far has been underestimated in a way, because I think when you have sales, which obviously they've been there for a long time, and they kind of know already how to like advocate for themselves and show what they're doing, and they obviously they are known for being a little bit aggressive, but I think that's a good thing. And now when I'm seeing like customer success also kind of like adapting those good things, with showing that okay, this is what we can do. I think that that's a really good change, that I'm seeing in the future.
Absolutely.
So yeah, absolutely. And before I usually end the episode, I finish it off with like kind of like a small gratitude exercise, I guess. So yeah, I usually ask the guests, can you share 3 or 5 things about yourself that you're proud of?
Okay. Yeah, I would love to. Some of this stuff I've mentioned already in the conversation, but I'm really proud of the impact that I've had on the people that I've worked with. Really proud of the impact that I've had on teams and results and businesses, and being able to um, really show businesses what customer success is and can be. Um, I am proud of my ability to show up in a vulnerable way, and kind of how my mindset has evolved over the years into more of a growth mindset where I really lean into
Mm,
challenges and learning. Um, and I don't know, I'm proud that I have found my voice in this community in a way that allows me to help other people.
amazing. Yeah, that's amazing. So we'll end the episode here, but thank you for coming on. Thank you for being so open and vulnerable and sharing your story. I'm sure that a lot of women out there will relate to that, and will be inspired by your story, and hopefully your advice on leadership skills helps other people as well. And yeah, I think I wish you all the best, and I'm sure you'll will do great things in the
Thank you
future
so
as well.
much. I appreciate you having me. And I really do mean it for listeners. If you guys want to reach out or have any questions, don't hesitate to find me on LinkedIn. I'd love to connect with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.